Well, good morning or good afternoon and happy December to you. It's so good to be back with you on Tisha Talks Live. It's been a couple weeks since I have had a guest with me, and I'm very excited to introduce you to my dear friend, Rob Brown, who's out here in Arizona with me. And Rob is the president of C Suite for Christ Phoenix. And today we're going to be talking about leading with faith. This is such a great topic, especially as we roll into December and the holidays and everything else that's going on. So, Rob, thank you so much for being here today. Always a pleasure to see you.
Always a pleasure. I love joining. Like I've said, every time we get together and get to our conversations, you never know what happened, know what gets said.
I know I made the mistake the other day of saying, hey, I have just a quick couple minutes to talk to you, and I just have a quick thing I need to ask. And I got on. I'm like, who am I kidding? Who am I kidding? There's no quick conversation with Rob. That was like an hour later, and we're like, okay, I
Yeah.
think that. And I was like, oh, and now I have the question that I wanted to ask you.
Yeah. Now this was the whole point of the call. What that was about a 60-minute call, wasn't it?
It was. It really was. It really was. So I see a Facebook friend joining us. If you are tuning into this live, either on LinkedIn, YouTube, or Facebook, make sure you drop us a comment, say hello, tell us where you're from. And if you have any questions throughout this broadcast, make sure to jot those in the comments. We always go back and take a look at those. We pull you into the conversation as well. And if you're watching the replay, we also go back and reply to you. So make sure that you ask us any questions on the topic or anything that you have in mind. I know, Rob, you have a lot of things going on, and we are going to be talking about that. But I want to dive into some of the key questions about how we lead with faith. And so,
Absolutely.
in your words, what would you say? Like, why? What does it mean to lead with faith? Why do people lead with faith? What is it for you?
Well, I'm Christian, but the thing is with our faith is that you don't have to be a Christian to lead with faith. I mean, you're stepping out as a leader, as a manager, owner, whatever your position is. Um, you're putting yourself out there, and it shows one that you have a set of principles, you have a guide, you acknowledge that there's something, a power higher than yourself, that it's not all about you.
Mhm.
So as relations with employees and relations with your customers, relationships with your vendors, you're putting yourself out there that, you know what, I'm guided by these principles. And like I said, for me personally, it's a Christian set of principles, but it doesn't necessarily have to be just that. Even if you're Muslim, even if you're just highly spiritual, even if you're Jewish, uh,
Mhm.
I mean, any religion, if it's just putting your faith out there and letting people know that these are the principles that guide me and my decisions and how I run this company or I run this department or whatever it is that is, pertains to you.
Right. I mean, and to me, it has a lot to do with your values, and really diving back and looking at what are my values and how do I lead with these values in mind? Because you're right. We've often talked about this, that not everybody is going to be the perfect client vendor relationship for you based on the value that they have. Different values for different folks.
Right, absolutely. And I get the question all the time as people say, well, by putting yourself out there as a Christian or as a Christian business, aren't you potentially isolating somebody or making them feel not welcome? I'm like, well, there is that, but I kind of flip that back. How many people go to Hobby Lobby? How many people go to Chick-fil-A? How many people go to In-N-Out? And those are three outstanding multi-billion-dollar Christian businesses, and they talk a lot about that because they, Truett Cathy, the founder of Chick-fil-A, he was kind of a somebody I really looked up to. When I was in the Army, I was in Alabama, and I was in the Southeast when Chick-fil-A was really just exploding in the late 80s, early 90s. But that was the thing that he said, was he said, look, this is what we guide everything by. We're going to have a great chicken sandwich, but this is how we run our business. And if
Right.
you, as an owner, you're not going to buy a franchise if you're not willing to step up and do that. As a manager, as a leader, you're not going to be a part of our organization if you don't do this. You don't necessarily have to be a Christian, but you have to lead with these principles.
Hmm. Yeah. And I can say I frequent those places a lot. Maybe not In and Out,
I'm not a
but
big fan of In-N-Out, but I do love Chick-fil-A.
who doesn't love Chick-fil-A? Okay, so little known fact, Rob, that was my first gig. My first job I ever had was working at a Chick-fil-A.
Oh, really? Yeah, I don't know that I ever knew that. I'll
Yeah,
learn something new today. That's awesome.
old, got the job at the mall, working at the Chick-fil-A, and yeah, had to go around and serve little pieces of chicken to everybody, and was the cashier, and
Yeah, that's
great,
so awesome.
great fun. But you're right. I think that, and I think that too, because of these companies like Hobby Lobby, Chick-fil-A, In and Out, because they lead with those principles and they're not afraid of showing that these are the guiding principles, and that you, like you said, it's this higher power that's helping them, that people are drawn to that. Like, you want to work for an organization that has that value in place.
Absolutely. I mean, I just saw the other day, I guess I can't say the other day, it was last month. I saw an article that Hobby Lobby, the founder, he gave the business away. He said, I'm not going to keep the business anymore. I'm going to give it away and turn it over to my employees. And all the articles, Wall Street Journal and everybody else, everybody was saying, what in the world are you doing? This multi-billion dollar company. He said, but the Holy Spirit told me this is the thing to do.
Mm-hmm.
So it hasn't been settled where it's going and who's getting what. That hasn't been settled, but he just made that announcement. And I think for those of us that watch it, we're all like, wow, talk about leading by faith.
Right.
That was crazy.
Right.
Yeah.
Having no fear and
Yeah.
just putting your trust
Yeah.
in. Yeah. So why do you think it's important to lead with faith as a leader?
Well, I think just like we've been saying, acknowledging that there is a higher power, that there is something much larger that gives you not only the gifts and the knowledge, that gives you something to work towards. Um, but I think just kind of what we've been saying here is putting that trust in something. At C-suite, something we talk a lot about is putting yourself out there.
Mm-hmm.
And just acknowledging that yes, indeed, this is here, and I'm trusting that this is where God has taken me, and this is the direction He wants me to go in. I pray about it often, and just using those words in your conversation. And for me personally, I mean, I've had many instances of through the years as a manager and as a leader where people know that I'm a Christian. I've offered to pray with them. Different things. And some people, sometimes I laugh about it now because I kind of go, wow, I really learned too much about that particular employee that I really didn't want to know.
Mm-hmm.
But they felt trust in me that because, they were dealing with something. They said, hey, I can go to Rob and he's at least going to be able to pray with me and, and talk through it and stuff. So,
Yeah. How would you counsel someone, Rob, if they've come to you and they feel like their faith is just gone, like they don't have faith anymore? Like, as a leader, how would you work with someone in that context?
well, first thing I would do, and I would kind of refer that over to a pastor or a counselor or something like that, just because
Right.
I'm not a pastor. I mean, obviously I'm a Christian leader and stuff, but the first thing that I do is I pray with them. Let's pray together. Let's talk about it. Let's find out what is it that kind of drive down into what is it that's causing you to feel this way. Where is it being shaken at? Is it something deeper on a personal level? Is it your customers? Is it your vendors? What is causing you to question that? Because generally it's it is a secondary kind of thing. There's something that caused it, and we I've been there.
Yeah.
I accepted Christ, and 6 months later I'm divorced and going, what in the world just
Yeah.
happened? And it took me a couple of years to really kind of come back to my faith and really believe that. I tried very hard to prove the Bible wrong. I wanted to. It's
Mm-hmm.
part of my story, and some people have heard that. Where I've said, hey, look, I don't want to believe it. That can't be true. I accept your son as my savior, and I kind of go through this and I accept it, and I'm born again, and now I get my wife taken away from me and my family. How is that even possible? What happened was years later, and I'm sorry, I'm getting sidetracked here and answering your question. But what ended up happening was God showed me, and it took a couple of years, but He said, look, I didn't take her away from you. I took you away from her.
Mm-hmm.
And that was just a very profound moment for me. I was just like, wow, that,
Mm-hmm.
kind of again. So it's something that I share. I don't share a lot, but I do share when the moment's right.
I feel like what you said just now, there's always that silver lining. And a lot of times we look at the situation when we're knee deep in it and we don't see it. We don't see it yet. We don't see it yet. But I think that, again, years later, you'll look back at that situation and go, oh, okay, I've got it. I figured it out. I knew there was a reason that why this happened. And it was for me to move forward into this direction,
For
So
sure.
yeah, I think a lot of us can say that. I know I can say that for sure. For sure. There's a great saying that says, ever disciple a leader and ever leader a disciple.
Yeah.
You've heard this saying?
Absolutely. I love that
Yeah.
saying.
Yeah.
It
Talk to
is-
us a little bit about, like, what does that mean when people say that? Because I actually had never really heard of that, but I really love that. I really love that saying.
Well, if you kind of break it down, so as a disciple, which we're all called to be, if you're a Christian, I mean, shoot, even even Muslims and pretty much every faith that or every religion that I'm aware of asks and calls their people to go out and spread the word and spread the spread that throughout the world. So we have to be a leader if we're going to be the disciple. We have to be willing to step up and stand in our principles and and sharing that and be bold in that. One thing that is really as C-Suite for Christ Phoenix, as this chapter came together, that I continually hear over and over again is faith over fear. It's just, yeah, I'm terrified. I'm scared to death about what's going to happen or what somebody's going to say to me or do to me or whatever else, but I just have to have that faith that it's there. But again, I go back to that as a leader. I've got to have that conviction that it might not necessarily be the right business decision, but it's the right decision in a human sense. It's the right. It's the right decision. You hear it sometimes and say, well, it's legal or just because it's legal doesn't mean it's right.
Mm-hmm.
And great example. I mean, we go through the world that we live in today, but as you say that, so every disciple must be a leader because they have to. If you're discipling and you're talking with people, you're leading them. You're leading them to Christ or in your way. And then as a leader, and this doesn't necessarily have to be in just the workplace. I mean, this can be a leader in your home. It can be a leader in your church. It can be a leader in your school. There's different ways, but we have to have those leadership skills that are based on our faith and based on what we believe and those principles that we believe are right. Mm-hmm. So that's how we lead. One of the things President Bush, George W., the second one, I lived in Texas at the time he was governor there. And whenever he was on TV, more often than not, he would say, well, we prayed about it and this was the decision we came to. And it was just something. And so I admired that about him. Just because he, whether or not I agreed with him or not, it didn't really matter, but I knew he at least, he had a standard that he lived up to, or he was trying to live up to. Mm-hmm. Now, when he became president, those words never came out of his mouth again that I ever heard. But that's the politician.
Well, he got the vote.
Yeah, exactly. And, and like I said, for whatever it's worth, whatever reason that happened, I never heard it out of his mouth again. And so made me question a lot of things that were there. And again, it didn't mean that I always agreed with everything that he said or did. It was just, I at least knew he had some standard to it, other than what's the latest polls tell me,
Right. Yeah, where he's easily influenced by other people. Instead, he was like, let me just pray about this.
Yeah.
And then I'll make the decision. Yeah.
Exactly.
Let me ask for that guidance that I need. Yeah.
Yeah. And the people that are in my life now, both as leaders and mentors and friends, and, when I moved here to Arizona a few years ago, I left a lot of friends. I left a lot of people behind, and I still have contact with some of them. But the one thing that I did ask is I said, okay, God, you're moving me to the desert. And I joke about this all the time. Like, Moses wasn't real crazy about going to the desert. Your son wasn't real crazy about going to the desert. And now you're moving me to the desert? Come on, man. Like,
come on, man.
Yeah, I'm like, come on. But the one thing that happened out of all of that was I said, okay, God, I don't know anybody in Arizona. So if this is going to happen, and I'm going to make this move and I'm going to be successful. And whatever it is that you're moving me there for, you're going to have to bring those people into my life. And I'm going to trust in you that you're going to bring those people and surround me with them. And he's done just that. I mean, we
I
met
believe it.
a couple of years ago and built a great friendship. But I mean, work wise, I'm so excited. You know, I don't know how much you share. I know I see it on your post that you're speaking next week for C-Suite. And, you know, I'm just excited for all the people, you and I can go through a list of several dozen of them that are meaningful people in my life now.
Yeah, no, that's good. I love that you said, if I move into the desert, then I need to be surrounded by the good people. So point me to the good people. And I mean, I've been to your C-Suite for Christ Phoenix events, and it is a lot of really great people. I've made a lot of really great connections and friendships there. So let's talk about that for a little bit too. So what prompted you, because I know your journey, but for people who are watching or will watch the replay to this, so you've come to Arizona. I know you've had a couple of different career moves and so forth. What made you decide that, all right, God, like this is what I'm going to do. I'm putting all my faith and my trust in this. And then you found this organization. So tell us, like, walk us through a little bit of that journey of, you know, leading with faith and putting your faith in this.
Yeah, it was, you know, it's interesting. I was in hospitality. That's my background. I started as a chef and I came up through, managed several different resorts, and I, you know, did that for several years. And when I came to Arizona, that was the intention of coming here, was to continue the hospitality consulting company that I was doing. Then COVID hit, so I had to make a pivot, went into commercial real estate. My thought was there that I was going to be able to become the real estate guy for either a large resort company or a large restaurant company or something like that, and be their restaurant guy. Well, that never happened. So I had to go sell commercial real estate. I had to, you know, do everything I could there. And the one thing that forced me to really get deep into prayer time, really get into, okay, God, what in the world is going on? This is what I thought I saw, but this is what's happening. So what's happening here? And he really showed me, he said that my strength was actually in building relationships, going all the way back to, you know, hospitality days and stuff like that, and just building connections and building it beyond just, you know, hey, I'm referring you because you're a plumber and my buddy needs a plumber. It's like, no, I want to know who I'm referring. And
right.
So,
right.
Which is when you and I met, and we, you know, that was one of the things we first talked about. You helped me out with building that brand and forced me to kind of dig in. What is it that sets you apart from the 50,000 other real estate agents in the state of Arizona? And that was just it. It was, well, relationships. And then so I started digging deeper, and I said, okay, in particular, for me, it was Christian relationships. I want to support Christian businesses, good, strong Christians. I want to be there and support them and connect with them. I met Brandon and the HOA crew through one of your events, through a Social Connect. We actually started talking about scuba diving, of all things. Brandon and I didn't even talk about business until a couple of weeks later. So, but yeah, you know, which is great. And it was just trusting God that he was bringing the people in there. And so again, it was, okay, God, you took me down this road into real estate. You could have saved me a whole lot of stress in grad school and money and everything else. Why didn't you just send me here? And he said, no, I needed to teach you this. And that's where, again, leading by faith. And then the next question, and you hear this in my testimony, our local chapter, our motto is, our C-Suite for Christ is covering, the motto is covering the world in Christ. Our local one is jump out of the boat.
Jump out of the boat.
That's what God told me, was jump out of the boat. And I'm like, dude, you put me in the desert. What boat? Come on.
Well, and then if you recall, there was a song by Colton Dixon that just came out, and I was literally sitting there washing dishes, and I was like, oh, this is the song. Like, this is Rob's song. And because it literally
I play that
talks
song
about
all the
building
time.
a boat in the desert.
Yeah. And just stepping out, because that's what it meant. And, you know, it just means stepping out, doing what God is leading us to do. And so I went into my broker and I said, hey, look, I've met this group and I'm going to launch this chapter here in Arizona. But my thought was I was going to build it more as a networking opportunity. We're going to build relationships and networking and fellowship, and we're going to do it. And I was going to build it in addition to my real estate. And he says, nope, if you're going to do that, you can't work here because you can't put yourself out as a Christian. And I said, well, people that know me know that about me. Like within a short time, you know that it's just who I am.
Right.
And
You
he
don't
said,
hide
no,
it.
you're gonna isolate yourself, and you can't do that here. And I said, okay. So I went in my office, packed up, and said goodbye.
Yeah.
And I walked out and I got out to the car and said, oh dear God, what did I do? But again, talking about jumping out of the boat, and it was just like, wow, what in the world just happened? And I said, okay, God, if we're going to go down this road, I need you to open up some other doors or support this. And it's just the way it's all come together. And it's like we were just saying, yourself, I mean, the people that have stepped up, our executive team, our membership has just exploded already. And there's just such a need for it and such a desire for it. And, and it's one thing we talk a lot about is being bold in your faith and being bold in who you are. Don't hide your don't hide your faith, or don't hide your Christianity, or whatever it is. In fact, I posted yesterday on LinkedIn a meme, and I can't remember exactly what it said, but it said, our Savior died for you in public. Why do you talk to him in private? And that thing is already up 12,000 views. I just looked at it this morning before we got on. I'm like, holy smokes.
That's a great meme. Yeah.
I mean,
it really
thing,
makes you think. Yeah, it really makes you think. And it's absolutely right. Like, why are we not professing our faith, or like you said, being a leader and discipling to others and saying, you know what, this is my faith and I stand by this. Like, why are we embarrassed to share?
Yeah. Well, I think we're afraid to, offend people, which I totally get in the face of cancel culture and everything else. But the thing that we talk a lot about, or that I talk a lot about, is when you come at it, if you come at it from Tisha, you're a sinner, you're going to hell, and you can't do this, that's a different message. But if I come into it and say, you know what, Tisha, Jesus is in my heart, and this is what he has done for me, and I'm sharing my testimony, and I'm offering to pray with you, or whatever it is, that's a different message. And they might still be offended by that, but there's not, how is that offensive? Oh, if you love me, you want to pray with me?
So I did see someone at the Cardinals game the other day with the big bullhorn, like walking out of Westgate. I didn't go to the game. We just tailgated with my husband and son. And then my daughter and I were walking to Westgate to catch a movie. And there was the guy with the big sandwich board and the bullhorn and like the loudspeaker. And I was like, okay, that's a little much. That's just, if you're trying to get the point across, that's a little intrusive.
Yeah, I just had a similar conversation to that just last night. A friend called and she had a death in the family, and she was saying, hey, my family aren't necessarily saved, so is this me? And I'm like, no, I don't. Maybe it is you to go out and be that eccentric person, and you're out there, telling everybody that Jesus loves you, and if that's your calling, then great. That's not me. I would rather do it on a one-on-one relationship. I'd rather share with you my testimony, or just say, hey, can we pray together, and just plant the seed that way, or water the seed that way.
Right. Okay. Yeah. So coming up next week, you are hosting the C-Suite for Christ Phoenix event that's taking place in Chandler, but also being live streamed. And you mentioned that I'm keynoting, and I'm so excited, Rob. Thank you so much for the invite, because I've never really, we talk about this, I've never really shared publicly how God has worked in my life. I've maybe put snippets of it here and there, but have never really stepped back to look at how he's impacted my life in so many different ways. And now I get this incredible opportunity to share it, to record it, to keep it as like a memento, to pass it to my kids so that they can watch it in the future. Seriously, just like blew up my phone today, sending it to more people. Because I feel like, this is a big moment. Like, I'm super proud of this moment. I've even shared that I'll sing a little, and so I think people are excited about that.
I'm anxious to hear that.
I'm anxious to hear what comes out of my mouth too. Just trust me. I'm a little tone deaf, so I don't know if it's going to come out the way you think it's supposed to come out, but I'm going to do it nonetheless, because I believe that it's growth, it's challenging, and if it's spreading the word, then that's what I was there for. Like, that was why I was put on that stage.
Stepping out and just that. And it just, I'm so blessed. I'm so happy to have you on stage. That's going to be so cool. I'm so excited. But Melina and Julia, and even Cindy is offering our closing prayers. Not necessarily polished public speakers. I mean, everybody's got our extent of doing that. Me as the leader, everybody that's been to these things or listened in, that's the first thing I say. I'm not a public speaker, but here I am. So,
but you are a public speaker. Yeah. Own it.
Yeah, when you come up with your faith, though, it's a different story. You know, when you're coming at it and you're just trusting that God's got me. You know, He's going to get me through this. He's going to put the words in my mouth that He wants people to hear. And thus far, it's been great. Like I said, our membership was far and exceeded anything that I thought we would be at only 2 months in. And our registration for next month, or for next week, rather, we're already sitting at about 140 different, or 140 some registrations, which is by far the biggest. And most of those are even saying that they're going to be there in person rather than online. But we've got folks in Liberia. I have a guy that registered today from Uganda. A number of people in Pakistan that are small business owners that want to hear our message that I've connected with on social media. But, you know, I've sent them the registration link and said, you know, hey, this is how you can watch it live stream. And they want to see it because they want to hear that message, because nobody in their country is doing it, but there's not many here. I mean, we have marketplace ministries and stuff in place here that do that, but just an encouragement. So I'm so honored, and I've laughed, and I've said it many, many times now since you and I first talked about you doing this. I've got the Tisha tissues. I have boxes of them, and I'm going to label them Tisha tissues.
Just have one on the stage for me, because I know there's going to be some tears flowing. Like it's a very vulnerable speech that I'm giving, and but it's needed. And I think that a lot of us, like, we look at someone and we just are like, oh, that person totally has it together.
Yeah.
And I think that's the gift you've given people, is to really come on stage and share, no, whatever you think you know, it's not true. It's not true. Like, let me break it down for you, because it wasn't me. This isn't all me. Yeah. Like there's a hand in this. And so that's what I'm really excited to share. And I think that as people listen to that speech, they'll see it very loud and clear, very loud and clear. So it's my hope, like we talked about leading and discipleship, like it's my hope that more people will listen to this, as well as Julia, Melina, Cindy, and be like, okay, you know, maybe 2023 is the year I get stronger with my faith. Yeah. I'll tell you this, every time, you know, my friend Gwen, I know you know Gwen, because you took a funny picture together for our October Social Connect.
One of my favorites. I was going to put it up on social media, but I didn't.
I have. You know what? I haven't even posted the pictures. I think I was just like on to the next. So I do need to post the pictures. I posted some to LinkedIn, but you know, Facebook's not really my thing, but I will post them. So when Gwen met me, she laughs because she's like, oh my gosh, you pulled up to pick me up at my house because we were business partners in an event management business. And she was like, I swear I walked into a club. She was like, your seat's pushed back, you're low riding, you got the rap music playing. It's just like, you know, like all this like techno stuff. But I wasn't really Christian then. And I didn't have a strong relationship with God. And it just makes me laugh, because she was really the one that encouraged me. And I kept telling her, no. Like, she's like, come to Bible study. Nope. You know, listen to the K-Love challenge. Nope. And I think I finally got there when this thing happened to me that I was like, I can't do this. You know, like I had this in me. I was like, I can't do this. And I immediately started listening to more Christian music. And now you hear me, and I've got my AirPods in, and I'm doing the dishes, and I'm blasting out music, and I'm dancing around the house. And I was like, I love doing dishes to Christian music. You know, it's just.
Well, we need to record that and replay that over and over again. That's like the Dawn dishwasher commercial or something.
I know. I told you, it's how I heard Colton Dixon's song doing the dishes and was like, oh, I gotta stop right now. I gotta put my gloves off and text Rob and tell him this is the song. Like, this is your theme song.
I just started laughing as soon as I saw the title, and then as soon as I played it, I was like, "Yeah, that's it. That's it. That's our." Well, like I said, God told me, and as I was putting this together, and I believe it holds true for our entire chapter, which is why I have stepped back. And initially I was saying, okay, I'm going to have to get better at public speaking. I started going to Toastmasters. I started doing all these things. And I said, you know what? This isn't about me. There will be days like we did at our launch. I'll be talking again in January, but there'll be times like that. But like next week, it's about our members. And it just happened to be that it was all women that lined up. I didn't plan it that way, but that was just the way it did. So we said, you know what, we're going to go with it. We're going to celebrate the godly women of C-Suite for Christ and talk about it. And hopefully that's the inspiration that we can use and go forward, and touch one person, touch 1,000 people. Who knows, but it's what we're going to be doing. And God told me, he said, get comfortable being uncomfortable. And that's why I say, I think, and definitely jumping out of the boat in the middle of the desert is uncomfortable. One week left.
Yeah, exactly. I think, Rob, next week you should have that as your walk-up music.
Yeah,
I do. I really do. I think everybody should have walk-up music.
Yeah. That's funny. I went to a Kingdom Builders conference yesterday, and they all did that. And it was kind of funny. I laughed because I'm a big baseball fan, and they all do that. And they come up to bat. And I always said if I did that, I was going to do something corny like Puff the Magic Dragon or Why Can't We Be Friends or something.
Puff the Magic Dragon.
Yeah. Just something corny. Like that was the way I was going to do it, But yeah, that's a good idea. We'll play that as we kick off.
Yeah. You do the entrance music, and I'll do the end music.
Okay, there you go. Hey, that's a good one.
Good. All right. Well, everybody tuning in, this is Rob and I. This is like our relationship, our conversations are just so easy flowing and so forth. Talk to him for hours like I have already. But Rob, how do people get in touch with you? I know I have a couple of links here for people who are wanting to register for Phoenix, the C-Suite for Christ event. Here is the link to register, and December 7th.
Yeah, December 7th, we start at 7:30. We'll end promptly at 10 o'clock. That registration, like you said, it is available for folks online or in person. So if you're watching this and you're not in the Phoenix area or you're not able to make it down to Chandler, it's at Cornerstone Church, right off of 202 and Alma School in Chandler. So we will send that link out sometime over the weekend. I'll send the live stream link out to the people that are registered. So now I know there's people that do forward that on and pass that on and everything else, but I don't send it to anybody that's not registered.
Mm-hmm.
So, it's there. Again, like you said, it's not necessarily a confidentiality thing, because I feel like if you're willing to put yourself on stage and talk about your faith and be vulnerable, but there is some, there's some intimate moments there. There's some things that, people get really very real, and you don't necessarily want that out there online out for the world to see. So,
right.
And try to be respectful of that. So like I said, please register for that. There's no charge for attending. We do have an annual membership that we ask, that helps us keep paying the bills so we can keep doing what we do. But we allow folks to tune in for a time or two before we ask them to become a member. So we want to make sure that everybody's comfortable with not only what's going on, what's being shared, and then we also do, as part of that is we do small groups. And this is actually my favorite part. So we'll have an hour's worth of speakers, then we'll have roughly an hour where we'll break up into small groups, and the speaker will provide us with questions that kind of surround the topic that they shared. But the very first question of that is, how is your soul?
Yeah.
Very first question we ask. And I am amazed at the yes, it's a professional, it's a business person's type of meeting, but some of those conversations get very deep.
They do.
It was, you've been in part of them, and I walk around, try to listen in on the different groups that are there in person, and I'm just like, wow.
They really do. It's such a great question too, because so many people just want to ask, how are you today? But when you dive in and you say, how is your soul today? It really opens up like, oh, I can actually tell you how I'm really feeling.
Yeah.
I can't just give you a blanket answer. It's
Yeah.
good. It's fine.
Yeah,
It's perfect.
I'm getting by. It calls for something a little bit deeper. The first time I got asked that, first meeting I did, and it was online, but the guy asked me, he said, "How's your soul?" I'm like, "Wait, what?"
And you're like, what? Well, hold up. My
Yeah,
soul.
did I just hear that right? What do you mean, my soul?
All right. So we've got December 7th at C-Suite for Christ Phoenix. Absolutely. If you're tuning into this, make sure that you get there. I'm going to be blasting it out even more because I think it's important, especially as we're in the season of Christ and his birthday.
Yeah.
And, and it's just so timely too. And then how I know how people get in touch with you. Rob's definitely on LinkedIn, and this is his email address if you'd like to reach out. But Rob, any other ways that you should hear from people? People should reach out.
Yeah, email and LinkedIn, social media is the best way. We have our C-Suite for Christ Phoenix page. C-Suite for Christ is actually now we were the first ones to step out of the corporate. Our corporate first chapter was in Milwaukee, and here in Arizona, we were the first ones to literally jump out of the boat.
Yeah.
Which was really cool. So it's been a lot of fun. We get to be the guinea pigs in a lot of ways. And I apologize. I have a truck right outside my door.
Yeah,
here.
I was like, ding, ding. No landscaper, though. That's good.
No landscaper today. No, today I get it's a water delivery guy. And
Ah.
I'm like, come on, man.
Hey, live at its best.
Yeah, that's exactly it. So, yeah, email me. I'm readily accessible by email. You can reach out through our LinkedIn, like our page. We're on Facebook. Less so. I'm more on LinkedIn, but it's one of those things that we do that we must do. The Facebook necessity.
Facebook, the necessity. Yes. You're right. All right. Well, thank you so much, Rob, for being here with me this Friday. And again, happy December. I will see you next week at a couple of things. And if I can give a little shameless plug, Rob will also be there. So December 7th, I will be speaking in the morning, and then we're hosting our holiday hullabaloo in the evening. So if you're looking for good times, festivities, this is a community event that I'm hosting with a co-host, Melina, and we are just making it super fun holiday-ish. We're going to have vendors. Tickets include dinner from Floridino's and drinks from Courthouse and hot cocoa bar, cookie bar. I think my daughter asked me to bring s'mores, so we'll have the fire pits going. Like, it's just going to be a really cool, fun event, and not businessy, not past your business.
Wear your pajamas. That's what I'm excited about.
Yes, yeah. I can't. There are sevevel people that have kind of fought me on that, Rob. They're like,
don't wear the sexy 90s. That's going to be a little too cold for that. But
yeah, well, I know, no 90s. I know I had one gentleman. He's like, I sleep nude. I'm like, well, yeah, we don't need you to come in your birthday suit. Like, we don't need to, but you could put a shirt on. Yeah. But I really say pajamas or loungewear. So if you're like the type who's a sweatpants kind of person or yoga pants, like, by all means, I just say come comfy. Don't come in heels or suits and ties. Like, it's really a very casual event.
Yeah, Courthouse is a pretty cool place. They're awesome over there. Really like them. And when we do the social connect events over there and stuff, so
they're amazing. They're the perfect partner, perfect vendor, and they're also a Christian company too.
Yeah.
Perfect.
Yeah, we're doing our
good stuff.
No, I'm not even going to go down that plug. I was going to say we're doing another one out there, but we got all kinds of stuff.
Yay!
So much exciting happening with the HOA alliances. With C-Suite, we do have Faith and Family Night at the Suns that'll be upcoming. That's in March.
Mm-hmm.
We have our celebration, which will be Danny Goki and Mike Huckabee is going to be performing. We're going to do a watch party here in the Valley. Because I wasn't real crazy about the idea of going to Milwaukee in February. When they invited me, I was like, no,
not at all.
We'll do a watch party here. So, stay tuned. All that information will be out there. The C-Suite, or the HOA alliances. We're going to be doing an East Valley happy hour over at Get Yo Tacos.
Get Yo Taco.
Get Yo Tacos. Yeah, so we have a lot happening.
A lot going on. So this is why. Connect with Rob Brown, figure out all the stuff that he's got going on, because there's a lot coming up in the new year too. And we'll absolutely see you either online or in person next Wednesday, December 7th at the C-Suite for Christ Phoenix event. So
Make sure
definitely
you have your
connect with
tissue
Rob.
tissues ready.
Get your tissues ready. Like, yeah, it's going to
If
be
you're
one.
not in person, have a box ready, because
You know, it's going to be one of those events though, Rob, where there's definitely going to be tears, but they're going to be some happy tears.
Yeah.
Like, it's not all crying, sad, sob tears. It's
and
a
that's
really
the thing
time.
that I love is people are real. And
Yeah.
I don't say that in, oh my God, we're all going to be breaking down in tears, because it's never meant that way, but it is, people are real. I mean, Brandon Barnum was our first keynote speaker at our launch back in October. And he shared stuff in his faith that he's never shared on stage before.
Yeah.
And stuff. And that's the thing. Emmy spoke last week. Emmy Savidra spoke last week, and same way, like they're just real. I mean, that's just
real.
what it is.
Yeah.
That's what it's all about.
Yeah. You're inviting people to just be real on stage. And I really admire that. Well, awesome, Rob. Well, thank you so much. And we will see you next week, my friend. And have a great weekend. Okay. Happy weekend, everybody. And we'll see you on the next episode of Tisha Talks Live next week. Daniel Knight from the Unicorn Universe joins me. So you want to make sure you tune back in. That will be the last Tisha Talks I'll host for December, and then we'll roll back in January. And yeah, I'm excited. Yeah, this is a short month for me. I'm really excited about that.
I like December so much.
I know. That's why I love December. It's like a 2-week work month.
You're good.
All right. We'll see everybody later. Have a great one.
Thanks, Tisha.